17 newsmakers this morning, and our 17 News political analysts are joining us today to talk about the big announcement. Cathy Abernathy on the Republican side. Good morning to you, Cathy.
Good morning.
And Linda Fiddler on the Democratic side. Thank you for being with us, Linda.
Yes, of course.
All right, Cathy, let's start with you and the announcement last night from former President Donald Trump. You called it last week when you were on here with us that he was going to announce that candidacy, but there are some in his own party who were hoping he would delay this until at least after the Georgia Senate runoff, and there are others in the Republican Party who are actually blaming Trump for a little lackluster performance on the Republican side during the midterms. Is former President Trump still seen as the leader of the Republican Party?
Well, you'd have to be, because he's been the president and he's got a very strong presence, and he's very active in campaigns, and that's, every party has someone. The Democrats have Joe Biden. Donald Trump has been a titular head, but technically when people start blaming for losses, I always, I hear it here in campaigns too. I say, what did you do to help? And that's where Kevin McCarthy particularly scores big, because he worked harder than anybody, which is why he's being rewarded there. But Donald Trump has the issues. I mean, the issues are this border and the fentanyl, and as you talked earlier about how to stop, help the people with some type of medical care so they don't die from it. Why don't we stop it at the border? And that's what we haven't seen from this president. So I think Donald Trump's got good agenda items. You'll find the other Republicans share a lot of what he says, and their issues as well, because they are the issues. Joe Biden's agenda is the issue.
Now, Linda, I want to turn to you now. Yes. And bring you in here. On the left, the left side of it, how does the Democratic Party see this announcement from Donald Trump? Does it affect their plans at all, and what are they preparing for?
Well, I will tell you, when I got home and opened up my email, there was probably 35 emergency emails Donald Trump is running. So, as I said last night, it's a wonderful organizing tool for the Democrats. They've coalesced around preserving democracy based on the fact that they consider Donald Trump an existential threat to democracy. And I think January 6th, was the moment that it all came to fruition and was visible for the world to see. And as Kevin's concerned with this and his ability to get people elected in this midterm, he probably would have been better off if he had not traveled down to Mar-a-Lago, if he'd sided with Liz Cheney and then put less chaotic Republicans into the races. I think they would have been more successful in the midterm, because this midterm was not successful for the Republicans. Even though they'll probably take the House, they're going to take it by a very slim margin. It's going to make their leadership very precarious, because they're going to be dependent not just to get elected as leadership by Democrats. They're going to need some Democrats to, pitch in. So it's a pretty complex issue, and it was not a red wave in fact, it might be a little blue pool.
Cathy, what do you think about McCarthy's chances now of getting this speakership? As we heard, he still has a couple dozen that he has to convince on the Republican side to come over and support him.
Well, this goes on all the time. In fact, if you heard Kevin McCarthy earlier today, or in fact, I think on this network, Nancy Pelosi had a chunk of 20. She had no one running against her, and she had 25 not vote for her. Paul Ryan had 30 didn't vote for him in the first stage. There's negotiating going on, but I got to differ with my Democrat here. Hey, we switched the House from Democrat to Republican. That is huge. That is a big deal. If it's 1 or 101, it is a change in leadership, and it will stop some of the things that the Biden administration is doing. So this is a big deal. It's a big change, and instead of everyone looking at how many votes right now, the Republicans that are there that voted didn't support him, they're looking for committee appointments, maybe a bigger office, things like that, and that's part of the game. Does
he have to make concessions to the Freedom Caucus? Is that going to be a big deal here?
Well, there's a steering committee that picks people to be on committees, and there's about 15 of them. And so some of them want to be on the big committees, the Ways and Means Committee, things like that. So that kind of horse trading may go on, but it isn't going to change the fact that McCarthy's leadership and the agenda of the Republicans is real clear about what we're going to stop and what we're going to promote.
All right, and then Linda, finally here, do you see McCarthy still getting this role of House Speaker, and how does that change things?
He's been chasing that brass ring for quite some time. It's slipped out of his hands a couple times. I don't know. I mean, he's in a very precarious situation. He is dependent on the Freedom Caucus. They're not happy with him. They've been very verbal about it. I mean, there's issues in the Senate too, going after Mitch McConnell. I think it's going to be hard for him. He's going to have to reach across the aisle and probably get some support from Dems to do it, or whoever gets elected to that position in the Republicans. They actually have not taken the House yet. There's still one seat. They only have 217. Dems are up to 209 this morning. It's a really long shot for the Dems, but it's such a slim margin.
And we know we are still counting votes here at home as well in Kern County, so we still have a little ways to go in this election cycle before we kick off 2024, which is already happening apparently. Cathy, Linda, thank you for being in with us this morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.